look in the eyes of my brother without shedding a tear for my
Can
brother.
I get a yell
I really wanna try.
from all of you hoes? Patting down your froze. This is how it goes. Can I get a yell? This is how it goes.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, everybody. What up? Welcome back to another episode of the InforMILLy podcast. We want to thank y'all again for joining us for the season finale of season 3, 2021. We want to say goodbye to you and thank you for not sucking as much as 2020, but still not great.
Yeah.
This is your first time joining us. We are 4 brothers from the middle neighborhood of Gary, Indiana, that come together to converse about this gig called life. And, you know, hopefully, if nothing else, find some laughs and probably come out of this only slightly different than how we came in. And so we appreciate y'all for joining us. And by all means, and I hope you enjoyed the ride. No matter where the conversation goes, what subjects we talk about, we always pride ourselves on 3 principles, and that is being forthright, being vulnerable, most of all, being honest. Fellas, we're coming to a close. We're about to go on break. And so before we go, those 3 principles, did something happen to you this week?
Yeah, and typically it doesn't, but I would say
yeah. Adam got one in the chamber today.
And I don't even know if it actually fits, but it was a touching moment for me, so I'll say it was vulnerable.
Sentimentalities,
yeah.
Yeah.
So earlier in the week, Kirsten showed me this artist that she kind of stumbled on. I don't know if it was on Instagram or YouTube, but but she showed me her work, and her work was great, but that's not what inspired me. It was more so because there was a video that I watched as well. I think that was actually on YouTube, but it was just a video of her. I guess you could say her process, because she does it professionally. So I forgot what the word is, but she does these paintings where it's like, I think is it called a mandala? I think, where it's kind of like, it's like a pattern. It's like
almost like a tattoo, kind of. Those
is it mandala though?
I don't even know.
I don't know either, but
but it's these cool patterned paintings.
These crop circle.
It kind of, some of them kind of look like that actually. But anyway, so she sells like prints, and she sells different little knickknacks that she makes, and it was like, man, it was really inspiring, because I felt like that's what I should be doing, not necessarily her medium necessarily, but I feel like that's what I should be doing. And it just kind of was like, I guess you could say a light bulb kind of like went off. I mean, I've been doing art for years, but I've never I've kind of just been doing it for fun. I don't know, it just, something just clicked. So like, it just made me think like, man, like how do I get to a place where I can like make a living from my art? So that's kind of what I've been thinking about all week, and just how to navigate that. And that's probably something that's going to take me years to actually figure out, because that's not something you just figure out overnight. But no, that I would say that's it really. And then, you know what? There's another thing that kind of put me in that mindset too. There's this show on Hulu. I think it's on Peacock too, because I think it's an NBC show, but it's called Making It. And essentially all it is these individuals. It's like a competition show where they give you the challenge and you have to make whatever, it's standard competition show. And it's actually hosted by Amy Poehler and and I keep wanting to say Ron Swanson, but I know that's not his real name. But
Offerman.
Nick Offerman, yeah. So it's hosted by those two, obviously he's known for his woodworking and stuff, so I get why he's hosting it. And she's the funny person. But yeah. So anyway, I stumbled on this show and I was watching these people like make things, and kind of just do the same stuff that I do, and I'm like, man, like, and it was all in the same week, so it just felt like a sign. I'm not like a mystical person like that or like spiritual or anything, but it just felt like a sign, you know. So I'm gonna take it as that and just kind of start trying to work my way, into that, like, you know, just go from there, see what happens.
Hey man, that's great, man. I love to hear that. And I am a spiritual person, so man, you know, you take that divine direction, and you know, you move inside of and toward your apex. You know what I'm saying? No.
Yeah, see what we call this here. The spiritual community is a divine dichotomy. You understand? Yo, that's your ancestors trying to lead you in the path to your destination. You know, that's glory in your future right there. You know, you say glory be to God. Well, if you the God, then glory be to you. Yeah. This is how we this is how we bring you to the kingdom. Yo, that's wonderful though, really, man. And that actually is inspiring to me and like touching to me just to hear that shit. Just to hear that, not that shit, to hear that story. That inspiring story. I didn't need that shit. Hear that inspiring story. Because I've definitely felt the same way, man, and wondered how. So like every time I guess, for lack of a better word, forget or get caught up in other things, it's wonderful to hear that whenever somebody else is inspired in that way, you know, it's a nice reminder for me too, man. So I appreciate you sharing that, bro, for real.
Yeah. And like another thing, just to wrap that point up, like another thing, this happened months ago, but like I think I was driving home one day from work, and I was just thinking, and I was like, man, I'm never going to be happy with my job until it's art. Until art is my job, I'm never going to be. And it's like, and that was just kind of like a defeating moment for me. Like, man, this sucks. So I mean, it is what it is. I realize that most people probably aren't doing what they want to do for a living.
Right.
I think, Josh, you might be like the only person I know like that actually does what they want to do for a living. That I know of. Maybe you and my brother. That might be it. But yeah, I think it's important to at least try. I mean, if it doesn't work out, then don't work out. But I think you got to at least try it.
I agree, man. And I just feel like in this day, age, and era, there's just too much money and too easy a way to make your niche lucrative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll say real short. Like I see people all the time that, I don't want to be like judgmental, but there's people that don't appear to even be that good at whatever it is they're doing, but they're making a living off of it. So I'm like, man, what? Like,
agree.
And yeah, I mean, that's like I said, I don't want to take from them like, oh, this person isn't that good, but it's just like,
no, but yeah,
it's a fact though. There's people that are okay at something and they're making a living from it. So I'm like, man,
yeah, it's just an acknowledgement of where they are at in even in their journey. Maybe like you might not be at the top of the mountain in your own story, but you still found a way to make it lucrative.
Yeah, because I really do believe it's a whole thing of like the age of the internet and social media has really shown that your niche can be made lucrative as long as you can find the people who want it.
Yeah.
The whole thing about supply and demand is a thing of if you got something you want to supply, you just got to find out where demand is. It's not a thing of just assuming that demand will be everywhere, or because you provide it, then it'll be demanded of you. But if you can find where that demand is most needed, then yeah.
Yes, sir. Yo, season 4. Check out the podcast for your economy, your economic
dose of niggonomics, and
your economic learning opportunities in season 4. Stay tuned, baby. No, those are facts for real, yo. Those are facts.
Hell yeah, man. We going through niggonomics. We doing nigga structure. We doing
I couldn't even get that out without laughing. I'm fucking up the jokes and shit. I'm laughing before I even get the damn joke out. Yeah.
Man, but word.
touching.
Okay. Yeah, man. Mine isn't even like it's nowhere near that touching. A couple on Thanksgiving, on my way home, I got into a car accident with an old man, which was very unfortunate. And I realized I kind of have like that's the only time I really feel stress is usually with stuff with either my car or my work. Because one thing is never just that thing. It's always like a slew of stuff that you're like, oh, okay, all these things got to go right in order for this to not be a stressful situation. And so, and also, does anybody else feel like it's a superpower when your whatever chemical gets released and you know your eyes dilate and time slows down? And like I don't know if this happens for anybody else. So it was literally a thing of the traffic in front of me had kind of stopped a little
ejaculation. I was like,
no, so like the traffic in front of me had slowed down a little bit. I assume because some dumbass was like, "Oh no, I'm in the far right lane and I need to get off on this exit, so I'm gonna fuck up everybody else's day." I assume I couldn't see. I can only see that the car in front of me had like stopped a little, like was at a complete standstill. Mm-hmm. So I stopped a little suddenly. And when I realized like they weren't slowing down, they were just stopped in front of me. The natural thing that, you know, you're trained to do is go, okay, once you're good, check the surroundings to make sure everything else is good. Mm-hmm. So I get to that point and I go, okay, make sure no one behind you is about to hit you. And I look in my mirror and I go, I see them lights coming at me and this nigga's not slowing down at all. And I go, shit. And so I see, I try to get a little distance between me and the car in front of me so I can get out of it and I get my front away from him and then push out. As soon as I get my front away from the back of his car, dude smacks me in the back. And
he was like, good game, son, good game.
and when it all happened, the shit felt like it was mad slow. Cause I was like, I had time to check that mirror, see how much time I thought I had, check my side mirror to see if anybody was in that lane, turn my wheel, get the distance right so I could try to push out. Like all of that shit happened and it was maybe 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And so I was like, does anybody else have that like that kind of superpower moment where they're like, fuck time and everything slows down and you know, you've done so many things because adrenaline is all pushed up and shit.
Yeah, man. Like, only in car acts, like mainly in car situations.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say that too. I feel like there's been times I feel like the first car accident I've ever been in happened kind of the same way. I was turning into a Dairy Queen, the one on Lake Street. I mean, not Lake Street, Ripley.
Yeah.
I was turning, but I was waiting for the oncoming traffic to finish so I can make the turn. So I was at a complete stop. And then the guy behind me, kind of like what you said, I looked at my rearview mirror and I see this guy coming and I see him like, yeah, I see his reaction in his face. Like he knew he was about to hit me, but it was kind of like too late. So he was trying to slam on his brakes, but it was ended up getting hit anyway. But yeah, it just sucks to like see the car accident happening. There's nothing you can do. Now in that situation, I actually could have just kept driving because there was nobody in front of me. I just didn't think to do that. You know, I was a young driver, so I mean, I was like, well, I guess I gotta stay in here and get hit. But
I mean, because it's funny. Like the last accident I was in was years ago, and I hydroplaned into the back of a semi, and it was that same situation where you know you're trying to do all the things, but there's an acceptance when it's you.
Yeah.
But when you about to get hit, you're like, well, come on, we still can try to make choices to get out of this. Mm-hmm. Like when I hydroplaned in the back of that truck, like it felt like I was sliding fucking forever to the point where I remember going like, okay, let's try to turn. And then my wheel wouldn't turn. And so I was like, okay, well, let's try to straighten out so you don't hit the like side, like T-bone yourself into the back of the truck. And then like before I even got there, I went, well, I guess this is happening. Go. like so many thoughts were able to happen before like the collision itself. I don't know. But
I just want to know, did Adam still end up getting Dairy Queen? Did you still get what you came for? Okay.
Yeah, I did. I was actually on my lunch break. I was actually on my lunch break from when I was working at Popeyes at the time, which is right down the street. And I was on my lunch break, which of course that's a great lunch, a Blizzard, but
nutritious.
Yeah, but yeah. So I was like, man, I'm here, so I'm gonna get the ice cream. But which makes me laugh because I remember getting into another car accident. This was like obviously some years ago, but me and Josh was going to B-Dubs, and I got into a car accident, and we ended up still going to B-Dubs after because I was going to meet him, and
is this wasn't when you were coming home from school, was it?
Yep. And
okay.
I was coming home, from Ivy Tech in East Chicago.
Yeah.
And I got on a car accident on Klein and wrecked my truck and all that. And like, well, I'm still hungry, so still want to go to B-Dubs.
I think that's fair, man. That's totally legitimate.
Yeah, I'm hungry. Go out the window.
Yeah, your fucking stomach is still growling. Like, yo, you got.
I thought about that.
You still have unfinished business right now.
Yeah.
Hilariously, Adam, I thought about that shit the other day because High Definition came on, and I was, and what happened was when Adam got in my car, it was playing. And he was like, "Hey man, can we turn this off?" It was playing when I crashed my car.
That's so funny, man.
Yeah, High Definition Lupe Fiasco featuring Snoop, which was a very odd feature. But
featuring the legend, the quote air quotes legend Snoop.
You're the only one that don't like Snoop.
I just had to take that opportunity. I like him, man. I just had to take that opportunity to.
It's a great call.
Bring back an old episode. Yeah, just be rounding it out. I wish my.
I'm sorry. I had two things I was gonna say.
Go ahead.
One, apparently Snoop is now a executive producer or something like that. He's got a new position over at Def Jam because he just released helped them release a new album called The Algorithm. So I thought that was very interesting. And two, to finish out the thing I was saying about it always leads to more stuff, is like you get that situation, and now I gotta go, okay, now I gotta take pictures of all the damage, take pictures of your shit, hope that you're not lying about any of this information. Thankfully he stuck around and all of that, but like hoping insurance takes care of this quickly, hoping not trying to remember if I got liability or full coverage, hoping that his insurance company ain't gonna be on some bullshit. Like there's all these things that my brain just kind of causes all this extra stress about that I don't particularly care for. So I guess that's the point of vulnerability, that of negative vulnerability that I don't particularly care for, is all this could have been solved if Bruhman was paying the fuck attention. And now, life has become much more inconvenient on my end because you wasn't paying attention.
It's a huge inconvenience, which is why, and this is going to sound terrible, but I say this all the time, but when there's someone that's driving like an idiot on the highway, we've all seen them. People that's going like 95 miles per hour and the speed limit is like 45, and they're putting everyone at risk. I typically will always say, I hope that person crashes, but I don't want them to get hurt. I just want them to be inconvenienced for like 2 weeks. Because
real shit.
Because that's literally the car accident is. Like, it's just a huge inconvenience.
Yo, what did 3 Stacks say? I hope you crash into a ditch. Not playing.
Just playing.
No.
Not playing.
Yeah.
I don't want literally. I was gonna say literally that happened. My bad, Adam.
No,
go ahead.
No, I was saying I want nobody to get hurt or anything, but I just want them to be inconvenienced.
Right. Because
you shouldn't be driving like that.
That shit literally happened like a week or two ago. I was coming home from my girl's house, and we're on Lakeshore Drive, and for whatever reason, like the 4 cars are blocking off all the lanes, and they're just driving slow for no fucking reason. And apparently the reason why they were doing that, because they were all next to each other too, they were setting each other up to drag race.
Oh, okay.
And so next thing you know, two of them just pulled the fuck off. And literally, as soon as they pulled off, I was like, that nigga about to crash. And he hit the median less than a second later, swirled into the rest of traffic and shit like that. And we're like, now he immediately just got out of his car and was like, man, what the fuck just happened? And I'm like, what do you mean what just happened? Y'all picked a horrible place to start this race because this is not a straight shot. And why would you ever try to hit this turn on a fucking the speed limit over there is like 35, 40, and y'all over here trying to do 80 off a rip. Yeah, I was glad he crashed.
Yeah,
man. I'm so done with the drag racing, bro. They fucking closed down on a lot of our major one ways. They closed down 2 or 3 of the lanes because they have to barricade them because these assholes drag race, and that fucks up just everybody's commute. It's just unnecessary, man. And they'll block off an intersection. Like, yeah, y'all motherfucker, y'all acting like y'all just like, yo, the mob. This is not Batman movie. Y'all don't actually run shit. You know, this is not a Batman movie, yo. This is not a movie. This shit is ridiculous, man.
I don't see why they wouldn't like go to like the country somewhere where it's like,
that's what I'm saying.
All, less traffic, so you don't have to worry about like cops and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like a blatant smack in the face to everybody else who's just doing their, just wants to get to where they're going. They're like, nah, fuck you,
Right. But my bad, Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, mine is also not touching at all. It's in first of this kind of encounter, I think. Anyway, long story short, so my girl and I are coming back from seeing the House of Gucci movie with Lady Gaga in it, right? It was about how the Gucci brand started, for the most part, and how the main guy got killed, blah blah blah. It was decent. I'm a huge fan of going to the movies. I'm a serious moviegoer. Love watching movies. Love like the atmosphere in movie theaters typically. This movie was okay. I could have watched it at home. It's one of those where like I didn't need to see, like, it wasn't that good. It wasn't as entertaining as they make the trailer. So like they literally utilized 150% of their trailer capacity, to get the only good parts of this fucking movie out, Anyway, so we're on our way back. We're maybe like 2 blocks from home, and we stop at this red light. Now, to the right and left of us are these clubs, bars, whatever, that are typically packed. A lot of people out, and it's like raining and shit. So folks are doing their thing in there. They're packed. And there's this guy who walks up, and he's like walking towards the car, but he's not walking. Like, typically people are walking kind of, you could say someone's walking towards the car because, like, if you're pulled at a stop sign by the crosswalk, right? People are technically walking towards your car, and he kind of veers from the crosswalk and like walks directly towards our car. And in a funny way, in my mind, one thought was, in South Central, you never stop at a red light. You always make that right turn. So you never fucking stop at that. You never make left turns. You never stop at that red fucking light because you never know. And this is one of their moments. So he started walking towards the car, and my girl and he's walking towards her side though. I'm driving, passenger side. She's like, yo, I think he's coming to the car. And, your first thought is like, nah, whatever. He's just whatever. He's definitely drunk. He's wasted. He's stumbling. But then he gets up to the car and tries to like open her door. And we're both yelling like, yo, you need to chill. Yo, chill out. And then he goes to grab the door handle and the rear passenger behind her. And at this point, I make the mistake. So look, I parked the car and put my hazards on. We're at a red light. This is a one-way. We're in like essentially the middle lane. There's like 4 other lanes. So people could be coming. So I throw my hazards on, and he's like wasted. I go to reach for the door handle to get out of the car because for the first time in maybe 3 years, I might have to fuck somebody up. You know what I'm saying? It's been 3 years, but it's been about 30. But last time I handled somebody, I was like 3 years old. But now I go to reach for the door handle to like physically remove this dude. Especially with him being on my girl's side, she's like really not feeling it. We're screaming at him and shit. I accidentally, apparently, I unlocked the doors in the car. So, because I'm looking at him yelling at the top of my lungs, like, "Yo, get the fuck away from the car!" You know, like, yo, we can talk about this. I don't have to fuck you up. We can talk about this. You know what I'm saying? But he's also on my girl's side, so it's heightening things because she's freaking out a little bit. And then I unlock the door and he opens the fucking back door. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing? You open it, you let the intruder in. You know, are you working for the enemy? Whose side are you on? The enemy or not, motherfucker? Whose side are you on? And we yell at him and he's like wasted. And like, you know, long story short, he realizes like, oh, I'm sorry, and like closes the door and like stumbles off and probably falls in the street, and we drive off because it's a green light there. But it was a definite close call and definitely a vulnerable moment. Maybe more so for my girl because she was in a more immediate danger than I was. But especially the fact that I felt like an idiot for unlocking the fucking door so he could get in. Like he was clearly looking. We realized later that he was clearly just a drunk guy looking for an Uber. I was gonna say like every car was an Uber.
I was gonna say that happened to me once. Like this old lady. I was in Seattle actually, and I had a rental car. And I was at a light, but I was about to turn on red because I could go. And right before I pulled off, this old lady, she had to be like 70 something. She opens the door. I'm like, and I look back because I didn't even, I just hear the door opening. And I look back like real quick, like think somebody's trying to like rob me. And this old lady, and I'm like, excuse me? What are you doing? And she said, are you my Uber? And I'm like, no. And she said, oh, I'm sorry. And I pulled off, but I thought it was somebody was about to like stick me up or something.
Yeah, bro. I'm like, that's South Central, bro. You make only right turns. You don't stop at red lights, man.
Here's the public service announcement I need to make to motherfuckers. Ubers have identification in their goddamn cars. Yeah. Lyfts, whatever service it is, they have to have stickers or lights or something to tell you that that's what the fuck they are. Yeah. If you don't see that shit and do the regular precautionary thing of how Uber tells you what the license plate is, and if you see that ain't the goddamn license plate, then like, why are you just opening random people's cars?
I know, dude. This dude was so like, he didn't even speak. He didn't say a word. He just went straight to the car door, and he was like knocking on the glass on the window. You know, I'm just yelling, and finally he walked away and like he like stumbled away in the street. But I thought I was actually about to I parked the car, threw the hazards on, tried to open the door to walk out there, and made the fucking mistake of inviting the fucking vampire in, yo.
Yeah, I had a similar situation where I was down in Lafayette and going to get something to eat, and I walked into the restaurant and they didn't have like a host at the front door or whatever, or maybe I came to the wrong door. I don't know, but I walked in and I was like, okay, I guess I'm just going to eat at the bar. And as I'm walking, a dude like stops me and he's like, hey, are you the driver? And I wanted to go,
what?
Yeah.
Like, what?
I wasn't looking at you. I wasn't even, I was looking around because I was like, is somebody going to seat me or something? But yeah. And so he's like, are you the driver? And I almost went, yeah, so that they could walk outside and be like, no, I'm not the fucking driver. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, so I guess all in all, that was vulnerable for both of us, but I definitely gave my girl a good scare, unintended scare, but homeboy was wasted, man. Wasted. Like in my rear view, I saw him like stumbling and then like laying on the sidewalk. So I realized, okay, this dude is just grabbing at any fucking car. If anything, he should not be doing it because he's gonna get hit.
I don't even think he ordered an
Uber. Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
But I'm glad you both are safe. So final episode of the season. We always take June and December off, and so we're recording this at the end of November. So if anything has happened in December, we don't fucking know. And so we're saying all of this before any of this happened. The date is 11/27/2021. And so closing out the year a little prematurely, but closing out the year, fellas, what's one of your favorite pieces of media that you've consumed this year? That could be music, that could be podcasts, that could be shows, that could be movies. What's something? It could be one or two things. just something that's that you feel like was great this year. I can start out if y'all need a second. A couple albums I want to recognize. Shit's only been out for 2 weeks. I know almost every goddamn word to this whole album, and that is An Evening with Silk Sonic. I have only gripe I have with this album is people don't put enough fucking respect on Anderson .Paak's name.
I agree.
I think because, and by all means, y'all, if y'all disagree, write in at InforMILLy@gmail.com. I think generally it's because Anderson was not a pop artist and Bruno is. Bruno has, I think they both have relatively large white audiences, but Bruno's white audience is bigger. And so they treat Bruno like he is, like he the David Ruffin of this motherfucker, as if they not a dual leadership in this band. And if anything, I would argue that whatever Bruno did right or contribute, he did so more so toward Anderson .Paak's style of writing, because it's all fuckboy music and it's fucking great. It's I was
about to say, I thought your gripe was gonna be that they don't have enough love making songs on the album. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's packed full of them.
No,
it's chock full of love makers.
I think it being curated by Bootsy Collins is fucking hilarious and genius. I think top to bottom, it is a great fucking album. There's only song that I don't particularly care for probably is Skate, and that's because I'm just not of that culture. But it has even grown on me. But every ballad is great. Every song is great. Fly As Me is one of the most arrogantly brilliant songs I've ever heard in my life. To tell a girl, like, I think I just want to be with somebody who's as dope as I am.
Yeah.
And so I just want to acknowledge that album is in the final hour, they released a major piece of art. Another album that I want to acknowledge is Alt Therapy by Emmanuel. That stayed in my ear real heavy this year. That came out this year. I'm sure there are others that I want to acknowledge, but those are the two that jump out to mind in this current moment. So no love lost. If I didn't mention you, by all means, there's a lot of great music that came out this year. But I can contribute more later. But what y'all got?
Man, let's see here, dog. Definitely want to shout out some podcasts, man.
Go for it.
There's this one that I started listening to this year, but I'm pretty sure they've been out. They might have started in 2020, so last year. But I recognize them this year. It goes by the name of Smartless. Now, there's three fine gentlemen who are the hosts of this podcast. It's Sean Hayes from Will and Grace. Funny dude. It's Will Arnett. Many credits to his name. And it's Jason Bateman from Arrested Development, from
Ozark.
Possibly one of the greatest shows out right now, Ozark. And they essentially interview or have guests on who are in their field. I mean, it could be, it's also like anybody, like psychologists, but a lot of it's like actors, directors, writers, and stuff, and they'll kind of give inside scoops on different episodes, different shows. Just really, really funny, really entertaining, man. It's wonderful every week, yo. That podcast is solid, man. Solid. Let's see. We also got How I Built This, man. But I'm pretty sure this one's been going. I'm sorry, I'm fucking up the whole just this year. But I want to, like, in case people haven't heard of these podcasts, I want them to hear them now. You know,
it's not necessarily that it had to be created this year, but it's a reflection of your year.
Yeah. How I Built This. So it's a guy named Guy Raz who hosts, and he interviews almost all of your favorite. Like, he interviews owners who started some of your favorite brands, from Instagram to Method, like the organic soap, and like everywhere in between. Everywhere in between, man. So many different. I mean,
Dope.
The guy who started Bitcoin, the guy who started Coinbase was a recent one as of late, like the last, I think like in a month or so, like within the last month or so, he was interviewed on there, and it just kind of humanizes these big corporations that, you know what I'm saying? Like they just they seem unstoppable, and then you hear stories of how their first 5 or 10 businesses failed until they found that one, and how they were stressed or crying or, you know, the tears of joy and everything in between. Some of them got divorced because the business took over their family and blah blah blah, and they could like, and it just humanizes that whole experience, which is just wonderful, man. I love it. It gives you kind of an in-depth feel, you know. So those two mainly, outside of like Joe Rogan podcast, which is pretty much everybody knows of him as wonderfully eclectic in regards to guests. I haven't been really, I mean, outside of that, J. Cole, the off season, which was fire this year.
Was good job. Yeah,
that was solid. As well as that freestyle that he put out. Was it LA Leakers?
Yeah.
It was just refreshing, yo. It was wonderful it was like, I knew you always had it in you, and you've been fairly consistent in my book, but like it was just wonderful to see him come back with that much gusto, I guess I could say, you know.
Yeah, definitely. J. Cole was a great mention. Podcast friend, I want to acknowledge the homie Jacoby Cochran, who is the host of City Cast Chicago. It's a podcast geared toward the daily events and just updates. It's like an NPR, but exclusively about things in Chicago. And they're doing amazing stuff over there, so I want to shout that out. And Toby Nwigwe, you know, I'm a big Toby fan, and every year he's doing great stuff. And I will stay at that, so I don't say anything problematic toward other people in this camp. No. His whole camp is dope and whatnot. It's just one particular voice that is grating on the ears. But
yo, I just want to say one more thing before Adam goes, really quick, because I don't want to take time from Grip, who is Marshall's new artist. What's his album? What's the name of his album?
I thought that was going to be I thought that was a device.
Nah, man.
Like a sex toy or something.
He was like, man, it's like, yo, man, I think we need to approach Grip, man, to be a sponsor for the podcast.
Oh, it's called I Died for This. His freshman album, his first album, was actually pretty good, man. It was a pretty solid album. He's from Atlanta too. He's from Atlanta and just got bars, man. It was very, I could see how the Eminems, the Jay-Z's, and like maybe even like the Method or Redman influences his style. It was like it was refreshing, and it made sense for him to be on like a Marshall album. Like I could tell why he would, not a Marshall record label, and to be signed to Marshall. I could tell that like he cares about lyrics. He cares about
What's
bars.
His name
you know, his name is Grip.
Is it spelled Grip?
Grip. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, look him up. You know, it was a nice listen for sure, and it has replay value, man.
AJ, what you got?
Okay, so for me, I've been staring in the space. I've been looking at my phone, trying to figure out like what I've been listening to this year, and really, it's been mostly podcasts, and that's probably partly because I drive a lot, and it's like you can listen to music, of course, but it's like to me, it's just easier. Like if you're listening to something a lot, for me, podcasts is the best thing because you don't have to worry about replaying something, which I have no issues with replaying music, of course, but after all, you just run out of music to listen to. Of course, there's always moments you can explore and all that, but it's hard to do that when you're driving. But so yeah, I've been looking in music wise. I can, like, out of albums that came out this year, I mean, maybe I just need to look harder, but I can't say there was a lot of music this year that just swept me off my feet like 2020. For me, 2020 was a good year for music. Maybe it's because everybody was locked down. But I will say this: there's this album that actually came out in 2020, but I listened to it a lot this year, and it's called "Welcome to the Hills" by Yusuf Days.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, we brought him up before on this podcast. He's a drummer from the UK.
Right.
He works with Tom Misk a lot. Tom Misk, if anybody doesn't know, he's a guitarist, singer. But anyway, so this album is called "Welcome to the Hills," and it's a trio. It's Yusuf Days, who's the drummer, Charlie Stacey, who's the guy on the keys, and Rocco Palladino, who's the bassist. And it's a live album, which I don't actually typically like. But typically, yeah, but this album is actually really good. I listen to it all the time. It's a jazz album, kind of like that newer jazz sound. It's kind of like
so like your Glasper or like a Christian Scott, or
I'll say more like Christian Scott, like
or like a Terrace Martin, trying to think about a newer jazz artist.
Yeah, I think Christian Scott. I think that's a good comparison.
Okay.
It's like kind of hip hop based.
Okay.
You could say that the drummer Yusuf is definitely based in hip hop. And it kind of spirals off of that. So it's just a really, really good album. And I think that like the last 3 songs on it are improvised, so that's cool.
I love that.
Yeah, but that I'll say music wise, that would be it. I'm gonna leave Krongman out of this. But
you ain't got to, man. Living your truth.
But for
and
podcasts,
brings Eminem every episode.
Yo, stop. Yo, we gotta stop that narrative, man.
You literally just talked about him being signed to
no, but it's like every 7 episodes, man. It's like every 7 episodes. I need Adam. I need you to
episodes of this season.
I need you to rewind and give just like you shame me in that rewind. I need you to redeem me. But give credit when credit's due with the rewind. So man.
We got to do a season 3 supercut of every time you brought it in, bro.
Yes, it's gonna be all of like 7 out of 63. Let's get it.
Yeah, that's gonna require way too much effort.
I know it is.
But
that's once we got a team.
Yeah. Podcast though, I'm gonna do it in categories because I've gotten out of nowhere. I've gotten into true crime,
right?
Randomly, but so the true crime podcast that I listen to that I definitely recommend. Number 1 being Crime Junkie, and pretty much it's the 2 young ladies. They're actually from the great state of Indiana, actually.
Nice,
great,
and they every week they talk about. Typically, it's a murder, but it can also be like a mysterious case of someone that just up and vanished, which typically that means they were murdered. Not always, but typically that's what it's about. And the episodes can range from them actually revealing who did the crime, and sometimes it's open-ended where they don't know, and they're like asking people for if you have any tips or if you know any information, and they'll give you a contact number.
Okay.
The cool thing about this podcast is, so they make a lot of money, but with that money, they actually donate to a lot of different organizations around the country that kind of, whether it's to help solve cold cases or whether it's just different things. And they're very active in that, and that's really cool.
Okay.
So that's dope. I do have a quick question. Sorry to interrupt. I have a quick question in regards to podcasts. Does it sometimes depend on the season? What I mean by that is, are you more likely to look for like crime or scary or spooky podcasts or things to listen to during the month of October because it's Halloween versus another month? Like, does that even sway your opinion in any way, or does that sway what you're looking for? Because it'll be like a plethora of crime podcasts during the month of October for like Halloween and shit.
No, that doesn't. I'm not I'm not one to even like to celebrate holidays like specifically. Like, I mean, of course, if it's Halloween, I'll do something for it, but I'm not like, oh, it's October, let me get the pumpkins out. I'm not that type of guy. Like, yeah. there's been plenty of Christmases we didn't even put up a Christmas tree. It's like I just don't care, man.
Gotcha. Okay. I just know a lot of those crime podcasts were created during like the month of October and shit. Yeah.
Right.
And it makes sense. It's like good marketing.
Yeah, it is. So under the company that runs Crime Junkies is Audio Chuck, and they have other crime podcasts. So I listen to other ones like I'm not gonna give the details of all of them, but Anatomy of Murder, Red Collar, which actually just ended, but Red Collar was interesting because we've all heard of white collar crime, like fraud and insurance fraud, stuff like that. So apparently someone coined the term red collar, and all it means is it's typically someone that's in white collar crime that has killed. And typically these people end up killing because they don't want to get caught. That's typically the reason why these criminals end up killing. So that's pretty much it. So it just tells unique stories of people that are in the white collar world that end up killing people, and it's some pretty wild stories on there because you find out that these people, they kill somebody and it's like, dang, for that, like it wasn't even that serious of a situation, and like they went, full psychopath. Like,
interesting.
And then the last one I would say is, unfortunately, it's a limited series, but there's a podcast called on our watch, and essentially it's about I might have mentioned this on this podcast, but essentially it's about this. I think she's an investigative journalist. I think she used to be a prosecutor, maybe. I might be thinking of another. I might be mixing it up with a different podcast, but I know for sure she's an investigative journalist in California, and all the episodes cover essentially cases of cops doing some messed up stuff. So, example, there is one episode where there's a cop that essentially he's a predator, like a sexual predator, essentially, or he'll pull somebody over, and he'll try to essentially try to say, hey, if you do a favor for me, I won't write you the ticket. That favor being sexual.
Yes.
Then there's an instance of him essentially stalking this lady, sending her dick pics and stuff like that, just nonstop.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. Then there's the story where I actually heard this story, but there's a guy, this cop, he was off duty and he ended up essentially beating up this teenager in this gas station. Essentially because he felt disrespected. There was really no reason to. But yeah, it's just really good. And I like how she kind of holds these people's feet to the fire, because a lot of people just kind of give cops a pass, obviously, and I like that she tries to get to the bottom of stuff, so yeah. So I would say, yeah, those 3 or 4 podcasts. And actually, I'll say this too, because I've actually gotten into sports talk stuff. I mean, I've always been into sports, but I've never been interested in necessarily hearing people talk about sports until recently for some reason. So I listen to, these are actually all TV shows, but I listen to the podcast versions of them. So First Take with Stephen A. And that dude just cracks me up.
Definitely.
This is screaming for no reason.
Definitely.
He's entertaining. I don't agree with most of his points, but he's just a really entertaining dude.
Yeah.
Then Skip and Shannon, I listen to their Undisputed is what it's actually called.
Yeah, Undisputed.
Listen to them all the time. They have just a really funny dynamic going on too. And the last one would be Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max is another show. I just recently started listening to that one. And they all talk about the same stuff pretty much, but it just kills time. So that's probably my main lineup now. And occasionally
I can get that kind of stuff.
And I'll say occasionally I'll listen to Talib Kweli's podcast, depending on the guest. I don't listen to every episode.
Guest,
Party People or Party to the People. What is it?
People's Party.
Yeah, People's Party.
Yeah, I'll listen to it depending on the guest. Even though it's a relatively good show, I don't particularly care for his co-host. She's not that she doesn't do much for
Jasmine?
me.
Yeah, I don't
Agreed.
Yeah, he could have the show without her, and
it wouldn't change anything.
No.
Yo, that 88 Keys episode was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been a few of them that I've enjoyed. Whether they be musician or comedian or producer or executive. Speaking of music, though, 2 albums that I remembered that I want to mention. Lately I Feel Everything. Willow Smith's last album. Amazing. It's a
Who?
great fucking album. Willow Smith.
Yeah.
Will's
Oh,
daughter.
Willow. I thought you said Lil
Yeah.
Smith. I was like, oh,
No.
bruh.
Willow Smith is
But on ching.
and make sure I don't miss, because people got all of these, long ass album titles. Make sure I'm not saying the wrong thing. Sometimes I might be introvert. I feel like they say be an introvert, but I don't know. Sometimes I might be introvert. Lil Sims. Also a great album.
I haven't listened to it, but I do like her though. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Okay.
I stumbled on her. It was a Tiny Desk concert.
Mhm.
And I was like, let me watch this. And I watched it. I was like, this was amazing. Like, it was one of the best Tiny Desk concerts I've heard. Yeah.
Nice.
she-
I
she's
gotta
a-
check her out. A Lil
Yeah.
Sims. Okay.
I think
Yeah,
she English? Is she
Yeah, she's English
okay. Yeah.
or British
okay.
or
Yeah.
whatever is the actual way to say that.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go
Oh,
ahead
but-
and just make a connection to Willow Smith. That connection
Mhm.
being her father, who came out with a movie that I saw.
You watched King Henry?
King
Richard?
Yeah,
King
that
Henry.
shit was. Yeah, the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. Those motherfuckers was ruling for a long time.
Hate every last one of them.
I know. Agree. Yeah. So the formerly honest podcast, we all unanimously agree that they fucking suck.
Wait, who? I
But,
missed it. I missed.
I
That part.
accidentally said King. I accidentally said King Henry instead of King Richard.
Oh, okay.
Motherfuckers was ruling for like 300 years. Like, God damn, can somebody else get the presidency, please?
No,
Can somebody else
yeah.
get the throne? Motherfucker, yo, please.
Hate every one of them motherfuckers. But
Yeah.
you watched King Richard. How was it?
Movie was dope, yo. I mean, yo,
I heard-
speaking of touching, it was touching, man. It was.
I heard much like
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Eternal. I heard much like Eternals that got review bombed.
You know what? I did not. I honestly didn't know. I didn't read or listen to any reviews beforehand.
Yeah. Okay.
So I went in kind of just like knowing, okay, I usually fuck with Will Smith and I like the Williams sisters, and I know what they did to some degree from an outside perspective, what they did for the game of tennis and sports in general.
Mhm.
And I knew that was incredible, so I wanted to get like an inside scoop, you know. And then I listened, and the movie was good, and it made me want to listen to other interviews afterwards of like the real people talking about it. Yo, I mean, the acting and like the girls who played the Williams sisters when they were young were wonderful, yo, wonderful. So all around, just like a really nice, touching movie in my mind, you know. And I didn't know about their father in that way. Like this dude wrote, maybe it might be more, might be less, but like let's just say 80 something page paper about their lives and how it was going to turn out, and then most of the shit came true.
Mhm.
He wrote
Wow.
an 80 something page paper saying they're going to be superstars, they're going to be rich, they're going to be tennis players, they're going to be, and most of that shit came true. And like he was big into, like, he pulled it. I mean, based on the movie, he would pull them, which is supposedly is supposed to be based off true events, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He would pull them from practice and be like, yo, you got an interview, come on, yo, we don't want to be like, you got an interview. And like,
Did you go and watch that the real old interview where he pretty much cussed out the
yes,
the interviewer? Did you go watch the real one?
Yep, right after. And it was accurate, yo. And it was like,
Yeah.
it was true. It's like the dude kept pressing this issue. It's like, I understand to some degree it's a journalist, like journalists ask silly ass questions sometimes. I find myself still nowadays asking, like, when somebody goes through a tragedy and they say, so how did that make you feel? It's kind of obvious, but you have to ask a dumb question like that to give them the opportunity to explain. But it's to everybody else, it's fucking obvious. Yo, their family got murdered, you know, in some horrific way. You want to know how the fuck I feel? Well, it's obvious. What do you mean? But like, yeah, he straightened the motherfucker out for sure. Like it was pretty accurate, and it was like I just didn't know the character that their father was, man. And like in a funny, heartwarming, like cute way, you know. All in all, it was a touching movie, you know. Like I knew enough about them. I don't know a whole lot about tennis, but I knew enough about the Williams sisters, and that says a lot. I don't know that much about tennis, but you're forced to know when people excel to that level, you know, and become the best in the world essentially at some point.
Yeah.
So it was nice. It was nice to get a little background on him, and just you got Will killed the role. So, and he came out with a memoir of his own, and just like hearing him in certain interviews, I like listening to people talk about quote unquote just regular shit in their interviews, like specifically things that like in trying times and how they overcame or just as a human being. And it was really insightful, man. It was touching, you know.
So
yeah,
I am gonna watch it eventually. But
it's on HBO Max too.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah.
So yeah, okay, dope. So round this out. What's if you can recall, what's one of your favorite, either like we can keep it like, you know, obscure or personable. One of your favorite controversies or one of your favorite like just personal memories, whether they be good, bad, or indifferent from 2021.
Well, that's easy for me. My favorite controversy was how Aaron Rodgers made a fool of himself. That's it.
Okay. I need a little bit more background because I've only heard about it, but I don't know that. I just heard there was a controversy with Aaron Rodgers, and I didn't jump in yet. So I honestly don't know.
Oh, you weren't on the episode we talked about this, were you?
No,
I guess not.
Okay,
I just know it was something. It's something to do with COVID. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be super quick. I'll be super quick. So essentially, in August, you know how they do like the press conferences, whatever. There's a reporter that asked him, "Are you vaccinated, and how do you feel about the vaccinations?" His response was, "Yeah, I'm immunized." And he further in the conversation, he went on to say that, yeah, we have some guys that are unvaccinated on our team, and I'm not going to judge them. You know, it's their personal decision. So he made it sound like he was vaccinated. Then fast forward a few months, he catches COVID, which obviously we all know you can catch COVID even though you're vaccinated. But the issue came in when the NFL was like, okay, he's going to miss 10 days off top. You know, that's what raised the alarms, because the NFL's policy is if you catch COVID and you're not vaccinated, you automatically miss 10 days. So everyone was like, well, why is he missing 10 days if he's vaccinated? Then like, oh, he's not vaccinated. So then that's when all the probing and the questioning came in, like, oh, he lied essentially. So and then it could have ended there, and he could have came out and was like, I was wrong. That could have ended. But then he goes on the Pat McAfee show. This is a sports podcast, and then he talks for 45 minutes, essentially trying to say how he's not wrong, how he didn't lie, and it just made him look worse. And then he goes back on the Pat McAfee show the following week, and then he apologizes. So it was just like 3 weeks of nonsense for no reason. And like, and me as obviously a Bears fan, Packers being the arch rival, I enjoyed watching that. So that's it.
I feel that.
Even though the NFL's punishment wasn't even a slap on the wrist. They fined him $14,000, which is a drop in the bucket for him. And they charged the Packers organization $300,000, which is also nothing to them. So they essentially, the NFL didn't do anything. I mean,
it's safe to say they all went out for cheesecake after it. Well, shit, it's hard not to bring up the fucking infamous January 6th moment, man. It's hard not to bring up this absolute silliness as like that's like the peak. That's like insanity in its peak performance. You know, came out win a Super Bowl and it's insanity. You know, that's like a Super Bowl level insanity.
It's kind of crazy that shit was on January 6th and it's already the end of the year.
I know. So like, I remember it vividly too. Like
vividly.
Yeah. There's people just now getting jail sentences from that.
Dude, it's funny. I think was it Joe Rogan? It was some podcast where they were playing clips of it, and they were talking about how some of at least how they think one of the guys, or at least some of the people, were like agents. I forgot what they call them, but folks who are like trying to encourage people to do something even more so they can get arrested. And then I forgot what the guy's name was, but I think it was the Joe Rogan podcast. Yeah,
I'm sure it was.
This one dude, you do like clips. And he like they were like they were showing clips that this guy was encouraging, and he was like, "Yo, no, yo, we should go in and like basically fuck some shit up." And you hear people in the background like, "You sure? Should we? You sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, we should do it. We should do it." And apparently, like the guy never got any jail time or nothing, and they're still trying to figure out like where all his charges are and everything. So they're assuming like he was one of those agents who were who also have gone into like other quote unquote riot, other protests and try to turn them into riots and shit. But that shit was wild. Just hearing the clip of like, "Yo, we should go in there and really terrorize," and somebody in the background like, "You sure? Should we? You positive?" He's like, "Yeah."
Yeah,
I'm not saying that.
Fucking wild. Yeah.
I'm not saying that clip doesn't exist because obviously it does. But I just find it so funny that they always find their skill level of being able to find a scapegoat. I mean, it's amazing.
Unmatched.
It can't just be these guys were out of their mind and they stormed the Capitol. It can't. It's never that simple. It's always like, well, we think the government was in on this. It's always like a plot. This elaborate plot. It's never like what you see is what you get. And maybe it is this elaborate plot that I don't know about. But I just find it funny.
I don't think it's elaborate plot. I mean, there's nuance though. There's nuance to every situation. I think it's fair to say that. It is fair to say that. I mean, man, I don't
this is probably where like I have bias in my benefit of the doubt, as like y'all get on me about having benefit of the doubt toward pretty much everything. But it's a thing of that particular grouping of people always have like Adam was saying, some kind of scapegoat or some way to distance the overwhelming majority of them from whatever that thing is, as if the overwhelming majority of them do not actively participate in that frame of mind, that course of action, what have you. And so that's what usually just makes me so irritated about it, is because I'm like, with any other grouping of people, it's, oh, if one person did it, why do y'all always act like this, or why are these people like this? But then as soon as it happens to them, they go, no, that's that person, no, that's that group.
Yeah.
And so all of us aren't like, and you know what I'm saying, like that.
No, I agree with you, dude. I agree for sure. Like, I'm sick of I'm like, I wish it was fair. I wish it was fair, and it doesn't seem fair. So that part I agree with. But I'm just saying, from like an objective view, I can't act like there is no nuance to the situation just because I understand that it is fair. It is unfair most of the time. It doesn't, like, if you care about clarity, you don't care about it when it only benefits. You care about it in general. And there's clarity to be had in all situations, is what I'm saying.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the idealism, is that it would, but the reality is that it doesn't.
True. So I agree. I guess that's I just found that funny. I'm not disagreeing in any way with you guys. I just came across that clip during like a he only puts clips on YouTube now. You can't actually watch a full video
because you got to get on Spotify.
Yeah.
Well,
it's just funny hearing somebody like, "You sure?" Yeah, I'm like, man, there's so much shit going on, that craziness.
Yeah, you could take any of these situations between the Derek Chauvin trial bullshit or the Kyle Rittenhouse trial bullshit, even with the fortunate conviction of the 3 dudes that killed Ahmaud Arbery. You're like, this is 1 out of 1,000 cases that y'all went, okay, the evidence is a little too overwhelming. The fact that they even tried to say like they felt like they were in danger, like they didn't chase the man down in the pickup truck with shotguns, as if he wasn't just running and minding his own goddamn business. And so
it was overwhelming. It's ridiculous. But I do think we need to appreciate these wins, even though we want something more. I understand wanting something more.
No one's saying that they
wholeheartedly,
don't.
But we need to act like we appreciate these wins a little bit. So
I'm not going to suck the dick of the justice system just because they happen to do one good thing out of 1,000. Like, I'm like, okay, cool, you did that. That's great. We can appreciate it and we can acknowledge it. But if
Hey man, I'm not asking you to suck anybody's dick. All right, I would never ask that of you. Okay, don't put that on me, man. Don't put that on me. I don't want to round this episode out with you thinking I'm requesting you to slap some knob. Man, I wouldn't do that.
I'm just saying, like, if a motherfucker stabbed me 99 times, and they're like, I will stab you 100, but I'm a little tired. Like, I'm not gonna. Oh, thank you for not stabbing me that 100th time. Like, no.
No, I see where you're coming from.
I feel that same way. Like, and I know we're ending, but like, I'm the same way. I'm never gonna congratulate anybody for doing the right thing. Like, I'm just not. Like, you always see this when some big tragedy happens, and primarily, like, say a cop kills a black person, and then there might be like a white Instagram user or TikTok user, and they'll say some profound stuff, and then it'll go viral because they're white. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna celebrate you because you're a decent person. I'm not. So
or portraying one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's. I can't. I don't want to. I'm like, how many of these seasons have we started out disagreeing? And I don't want to end the season disagreeing either. So I mean, it's obvious.
It's different.
I definitely agree. I'm just saying it's better than the alternative of continuing the process of feeling like we lost because they let these motherfuckers off on some shit that they should not have been left off on. At least that didn't happen, is what I'm saying. I'm talking about the Armada. Those guys got convicted and they should have.
Yeah, I know. I'm just
saying. Ahmaud Arbery, right?
Yeah, I'm saying that between that and yes, Ahmaud Arbery and Kyle Rittenhouse we're less than a week away from each other.
Look, man, sometimes also there is nuance to these things. Like, I don't just watch one clip or even I don't watch just one clip or 10 headlines or whatever and just assume because everybody's on social media that it goes one way. I actually care about getting more information, and I don't believe any of us are ever getting all the information. We're just seeing this shit as face value and giving our opinions based on what has happened in the past. We ain't getting all the fucking info. Let's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to know as much info as I can and not just one side versus one side. Like, I feel like a lot of opinions are just being based off the past, assuming we all do it. We all have done it.
Wait. When you say the past, what do you mean?
And like social media, the fact that things have happened 1,000 times before, it's like, well, here goes. If you read what I'm saying is this. You can read one news line without knowing any other information, and the news line will be like, oh shit, here it comes again. You hear that all the time. Here it comes again. You haven't even read anything else. You maybe saw a picture and read one news line, and people do that.
I'm not saying people don't do that. I'm saying.
So and then they go on to social media and express an opinion without knowing any actual information about it. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, but we're talking about us in this moment. We're not talking about the general thing. We know everything that
I'm saying. That's where my opinion is coming from. I guess now that's the opinion I'm expressing is coming from that.
I hear that. I love and respect you, but I also am like, I don't have a thing about that. Like, we're judging it based on the past. Everything is a fucking past. Literally. The first hour of this podcast is a goddamn past now. Like, it's we have to judge everything based on the past because it's our lived experience, and that's the only thing we can base our decisions and process of information with. So I don't necessarily know that argument validates anything. Like, we're doing things based on our past. I'm like, yes, that's the only thing we can do it based on. We don't have another choice.
That's unfortunate. But that's what
I'm gonna do.
We should fit. How much longer? I need to know before I'm gonna
base things on my future. Huh? I'm gonna base things on things I don't know how.
No. But before we go into this and it becomes long, how much time are we actually gonna spend on continuing? I'm willing to do it. I just want to know how much time I have to give a full well-rounded explanation. That's all. That's all.
Expedite that shit. No, like you can. I mean, we can argue it. I know we need to wrap up because we hit our hour. But I want you to be able to say your piece. I'm not gonna say my piece and then cut it off because that would be.
Oh no. I mean, I feel like I said it. I mean, I agree for them. I agree on what the shit that I feel like is fair and is like or should be fair and is not fair. We agree wholeheartedly. I feel like 90 probably 98 99% of the stuff we agree on, you know.
Yeah, sure. I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Controversy is good for the podcast. So real quick, things that I memory or controversy from this year. I'll be letting go of shit so fast. I know we could talk about all of it. We could talk about the Chappelle shit. We could talk about any of these goddamn trials. We could talk about what did I just see? I don't give a fuck about Harry Potter, but what is it? J.K. Rowling just got barred from coming to the 20-year reunion of Harry Potter.
Damn, what? I didn't even
over that shit. And in which, like we can talk about any of those things. I don't really give a fuck. I do and I have, but we talked about enough of that. What's a great memory I have?
I feel like the Dave one is a decent one because it's also been like 2020 and 2021 and before the trans, like the LGBTQ was and them getting fair rights and just being heard and understood was in a conversation for the last few years, even before 2020. So like I felt like that kind of rounds that out. Like it was relevant enough, you know.
I mean, I'm not saying it was relevant or irrelevant. I think it all to some degree really boils down to people have a really hard time sympathizing or empathizing with people whom they have never experienced as people. And if they have even remotely experienced them as people, they only they treat them based on whatever prejudices or biases or what have you that they've been conditioned to believe, as opposed to getting to know them as people. So I don't expect, unfortunately, I wish I could expect rather that Joe Schmo from I was about to say from Idaho, which would have been horrible. Joe Schmo from Idaho is going to care about Beatrice, who was born Brian, how they experience life as a person, because they don't give a fuck about anything outside of their scope of life. Motherfuckers who live in the backwoods of Louisiana do not know what a kid on the south side of Chicago goes through, and they don't really care because it's just outside of their reality. That's why a lot of times with people with white folks who are racist, not because of black folks doing anything to them, but because they don't have any black people in their life, so they only know what they learned about, and they think they know about the black experience, but they grew up in fucking Montana. Like that, I can hold them accountable for not having sympathy and empathy toward us, but I also get that you have never experienced anything about my life, and so you've been conditioned to believe certain things that just probably, most likely, and almost assuredly are not true. And so as opposed to going like, oh, they deal with these things like I've dealt with them, they go, oh, that person's so different. That person has not living a life like I live. That person is going against the doctrine of God as I've been told it, as if God has ever told you a goddamn thing in your life. All those things. It's all just stupid. But I'm not gonna say I get it. It's just what it is. And I wish those people didn't suck as much. But as people know, a common creed that I say, people fucking suck because they do. And so Dave being as smart and as unempathetic as he is to the trans community is unfortunate. But in the same way that, there are the black folks that have internalized racism, there's gay folks that have internalized homophobia, there's marginalized people who have prejudices towards other marginalized people. It's just going to be a constant state of controversy and bullshit because people suck.
Yeah, man, we're difficult. We can be difficult. We are biased. We are like a bunch of shit at some point in our lives. Mm-hmm. There's always something you maybe not seeing,
Absolutely. My big beef is if there's something that you're not seeing, and I get it. There's so many things that's wrong that you're like, I care about so many things. Maybe I can't fucking care about that. Somebody in Seattle, Washington right now is cussing out a customer because they asked for a regular straw. And I can't give a fuck about that.
Oh, I was meaning like you're not seeing about yourself that somebody else might be seeing from the outside. You know, there's always something
I'm not sure what you mean.
to learn. There's
yeah,
more to learn. There's more to acknowledge. Like otherwise we'd all be enlightened and like being completely aware of everything that we're doing. We'd be seeing all of our thoughts and acknowledging, okay, that's one that's biased and that's one that's racist. That's one that's not fair. That's one like.
I agree. I mean, and
reality doesn't prove that to be a reality yet.
Absolutely not, due to the general suckiness of the average human being. and so that's all I'm saying. Like you have that idealism that we were just talking about. I wish that it would just be simpler for people to go, oh, I don't get it, but it also doesn't affect me. So cool. You want to be called Claire? All right, Claire. Like it's not that deep. It's like I don't want to change how I use pronouns. And like this, it's not that deep. Just say her or she. What the fuck does it matter to you? Now, if they are giving you all this kind of flack, because you misgendered or whatever, like, yo, my bad. Social conditioning. You had to work for it. Give me some grace. That can always be asked for. But otherwise, I don't get why people make it a big deal about where you fucking take a piss. Like it's not that fucking deep. Let them pee. Niggas gotta pee. Like, what are we doing here?
Yo,
Target is not hurting for money.
Good points. You're bringing up too many good points that are going to make this podcast become a two-part finale, man.
I'm gonna shut up.
I don't want to comment. I don't want to comment because I don't want to like. I need to know, is this a two-part episode or not?
No. I'm gonna shut up.
Okay.
But it is that thing. I say this as a person who's grown up in a primarily queer-run industry and whatnot. That even when I was a homophobic kid, I would go, "Hey, mom, why the fuck does it matter?" But yeah, all in all, memories from this year is I thought it was actually a pretty good year for music. For the music that I was introduced to, podcasts were doing great. Shout out to InforMILLy Honest. Shout out to Flagrant 2, Brilliant Idiots, all the comedy podcasts, Your Mom's House, Two Bears One Cave, like that I watch. I just thought it was a good year for media consumption. I'm sure there's movies and shows that I haven't mentioned. For the first time in my whole dance career, I'm working quote unquote full time.
Hey, dope.
In one place and not full time because I have several jobs.
Yeah, man, that grind was a long one, bro.
And so grateful for all of that and whatever challenges and victories that brings. It's been a decent year.
Yeah,
it's definitely been a good year for people stepping out of I guess I don't know if the rat race is the right way to say it, but like the typical 9 to 5 and gaining revenue in other ways outside of the typical 9 to 5 and what's expected in what you could call the rat race.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I really, really like that was a highlight for me, man. Just like kind of touching on what we talked about a little bit, like Adam was saying, just inspiring in a way of like seeing other opportunities are out there. That's definitely been inspiring me for this year. Mm-hmm. Just seeing what else is out there, man.
Yeah. Cool. Well, AJ, unless you got something, we can go ahead and wrap it up. I was on my soapbox for too long, so I apologize.
No, I'm good.
It was my honest moment, and we were gonna keep it informal. So, if you in the coming season have a product or a business that you want to promote, by all means, write us at informally.honestpodcast@gmail.com. If you got subjects that you want to talk about, if you want to be a guest on the podcast because you think you got great opinions and don't mind the possibility of getting roasted because your opinions may suck from us having you on the podcast, you can write us at informally.honestpodcast@gmail.com or hit us on our Instagram. We do not have a Patreon, but we are running through Anchor, and eventually we're going to make that Anchor commercial to put on here. And on Anchor, you can offer sponsorships. So shout out to some of the listeners that we have that have actually already been on this, but you can put money into the podcast if you want to invest in this podcast to help us grow and then help us to bring you more. Write us and say like, hey, if I give you money, I'm gonna want, I'm gonna want exclusive merch. I'm gonna want an extra episode. I'm gonna want this. I'm gonna want that. You let us know, and we will acquiesce. We will accommodate.
Ours.
And so we want to grow, and we want to grow in the ways that will actually be fruitful to y'all that have been consistent in listening to us, because we appreciate you. With 3 seasons deep, and those of you who have stayed with us the whole time, we can't thank you enough. And so we want to be able to give stuff to you. We want to be able to provide more than our informally honest opinions and perspectives on things, and more of it. And so by all means, we love you. We appreciate you. And every conversation that you have, every connection you make, and through 21 on into 22, we want to encourage you to be forthright, vulnerable, informal, and motherfucking honest. We love you. Peace.
That was hell of a way to sign off. God damn. That's how you do it. All you motherfuckers out there trying to start, if you're thinking about starting a podcast, that's how you fucking do it. Right there. That's how you do it. Take notes, motherfucker. We going to the top. Take notes. Yeah, all I gotta say is, I want to thank Josh too. Thank y'all for listening, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to listen. Yeah, that's how you do it, man. That was wonderful.
I appreciate
it. For real. Before I hit this stop button, I want to make sure I said that. Got that out. All right, peace, y'all. Thanks for listening.
Appreciate you, brother.
Peace out.
Without shedding a tear for my brother, I really want to try for my brother, 'cause I truly do feel for my brother.